In the distant year 2157, Earth looked very different from the blue planet humans once knew. The Korean Space Federation had grown into the most powerful force among all human colonies scattered across the galaxy. From their massive space stations to their advanced starships, Korean technology and leadership had pushed humanity farther into space than anyone had dreamed possible. On New Seoul Station, a giant rotating structure that housed over 50 million people, Kim Tae-ho sat in his broadcasting studio preparing for another show. The studio walls were covered with screens showing live feeds from dozens of human worlds. Tae-ho was not just any broadcaster. He was the most watched comedian and political commentator in human space. His sharp wit and clever jokes had made him famous, but his real power came from his ability to make people think. Tae-ho adjusted his microphone and looked into the main camera. In just minutes, his voice would reach 47 different human worlds, from the mining colonies near distant stars to the farming planets on the edge of known space. Billions of people would stop what they were doing to listen to him speak. "Good evening, fellow humans," Tae-ho began as the red recording light came on. "Today I want to talk about something that worries me deeply. Our leaders keep pushing us to expand faster and faster into space. They want to build more colonies, more military bases, more weapons, but why? What are we so afraid of?" His words carried across space through the most advanced communication network ever built. This network belonged to Park Min-ji, a brilliant woman who had started with nothing and built a technology empire that connected every human settlement in the galaxy. Her company, Starlink Communications, was so powerful that no government could function without it. Park Min-ji watched Tae-ho's broadcast from her private office on Mars Central Station. The office was simple but elegant, with large windows showing the red planet's surface far below. She shook her head as she listened to his words. Min-ji respected Tae-ho's intelligence, but she thought he was dangerously naive about the threats facing humanity. "He doesn't understand," Min-ji said to her. Assistant Lee Dong-woo, who stood nearby. "While he makes jokes about peace, there are alien civilizations out there that could destroy us all. We need to be strong, not weak." For 3 years, Tae-ho and Min-ji had been engaged in a very public disagreement that had captured the attention of humans everywhere. Their debates were broadcast live across the galaxy, with millions of people choosing sides. Tae-ho believed that humans should focus on peaceful trade and cooperation with the alien species they had encountered. He argued that military expansion only made other civilizations see humans as a threat. Min-ji disagreed completely. She had access to classified intelligence reports that most people never saw. These reports told a different story. Several alien civilizations were growing stronger and more aggressive. Some had already destroyed other species that had tried to expand into space. Min-ji believed that humanity's survival depended on becoming powerful enough to defend itself. The debate between them was more than just a disagreement between two famous people. It represented a fundamental split in human civilization. On one side were those who believed in Tae-ho's vision of peaceful coexistence. They wanted to focus on improving life on existing colonies and building good relationships with alien neighbors. On the other side were those who supported Min-ji's call for rapid expansion and military strength. They believed that in a dangerous galaxy, only the strong would survive. Their most recent debate had been watched by over 12 billion people across human space. Tae-ho had argued that military spending was taking resources away from education, healthcare, and scientific research. He pointed out that humans had encountered 17 different alien species, and most of them seemed peaceful. Min-ji had responded by showing classified footage of alien warships gathering near human territory. She argued that peaceful aliens would not need such massive military forces. She believed that humanity was being watched and evaluated by potential enemies. The Korean Space Federation government was caught in the middle of this debate. President Yoon Sung-min had to balance the competing demands of both sides. Tae-ho's supporters included many young colonists who wanted to focus on building better lives rather than preparing for war. Min-ji's supporters included military leaders and business owners who believed that expansion was necessary for survival. As Tae-ho finished his broadcast that evening, he looked out at the stars visible through his studio window. Somewhere out, there were alien civilizations that humans had never met. Were they friends or enemies? He genuinely believed that most intelligent species would prefer peace to war. But a small part of him wondered if Minji might be right about the dangers they faced. Meanwhile, Minji was reviewing the latest intelligence reports in her secure office. The information was disturbing. Long-range sensors had detected unusual activity in several star systems near human territory. Large alien fleets were moving in coordinated patterns that suggested military planning rather than peaceful exploration. Neither Tai-Ho nor Minji knew that their public debate was being watched very carefully by alien intelligence agencies. Their disagreement was seen as a sign of human weakness and division. Some alien leaders were beginning to think that this might be the perfect time to act against humanity before it became too strong to defeat. The emergency broadcast alert flashed across every screen in human space at exactly 14:30 Galaxy Standard Time. People stopped working, children paused their games, and even space pilots pulled over their ships to watch. Minji had never called for an emergency broadcast before, so everyone knew something important was about to happen. Minji sat in her main studio on Mars Central Station, surrounded by more security guards than usual. Her face looked serious and tired, as if she had not slept for days. Behind her were 3 large screens showing official government documents, financial records, and communication logs. The camera focused on her as she took a deep breath. "Fellow humans," Minji began, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "What I am about to tell you will change everything we thought we knew about our recent history. For 5 years, we have been deceived. For 5 years, we have been manipulated by our enemies." On New Seoul Station, Tai-Ho was eating lunch with his production team when the emergency alert appeared on their screens. He stopped eating and stared at Minji's face, wondering what she was planning to reveal. Something about her expression made him feel nervous. 3 days ago, my intelligence team discovered something terrible," Minji continued. "The peace movement that has influenced our government policies, the movement that has convinced millions of humans to oppose military expansion, has been secretly funded by alien enemies." She pressed a button, and the first document appeared on the screens behind her. It showed bank transfer records with amounts in the millions of credits. The money had moved through dozens of different companies and organizations before reaching its final destination. These financial records show payments totaling over 200 million credits, Minji explained. The money came from Shell, companies controlled by an alien confederation called the Hegemony. This alien group has been working for years to keep humanity weak and unprepared for what is coming. Across human space, people gasped and pointed at their screens. The documents looked official and detailed. Government investigators had verified their authenticity with digital signatures and blockchain confirmations. Minji pressed another button, and a new set of documents appeared. These showed coded messages and meeting schedules. These communication records prove that someone very close to the peace movement has been receiving instructions from hegemony agents. Someone has been told exactly what to say and when to say, hired to keep humans from building proper defenses. Tai-Ho's face went pale as he watched the broadcast. The financial trail was leading directly toward organizations that had supported his work. His hands began to shake as he recognized names of companies that had sponsored his shows and funded his research. "The person who has been unknowingly working for our enemies," Minji said, looking directly into the camera, "is Kim Tai-Ho." The words hit Tai-Ho like a physical blow. His lunch fell from his hands as he stared at the screen in shock. Around him, his production team members stepped away, looking at him with suspicion and fear. Minji continued speaking as more evidence appeared on the screens. "For 5 years, Kim Tai-Ho has been receiving money and instructions from alien enemies. His speeches against military expansion, his arguments for peaceful coexistence, his influence on government policy, all of it has been guided by aliens who want to keep humanity weak." The evidence was overwhelming. Bank records showed that Tai-Ho's media company had received funding from organizations that were secretly controlled by hegemony agents. Communication logs showed meetings between Tai-Ho's assistants and people who were later identified as alien operatives. Even Tai-Ho's most famous speeches had been based on talking points provided by his alien handlers. Taeho believed he was. Working for peace, Minji explained. But he was actually helping our enemies prepare for war. While he convinced our government to reduce military spending, the hegemony was building the largest invasion fleet in galactic history. On dozens of human worlds, people began gathering in the streets. Some were angry and wanted to arrest Taeho immediately. Others were confused and refused to believe the evidence. Many were simply afraid, realizing that humanity might be in terrible danger. Taeho sat in his studio staring at the screens that showed his own financial records. Everything Minji was saying appeared to be true. The companies that had funded his work, the advisors who had helped him write his speeches, the research organizations that had provided him with information about alien civilizations, all of them had been connected to the hegemony. The worst part, Minji continued, is that Taeho's influence has been incredibly effective. His arguments convinced our government to cancel 3 major military projects. His speeches persuaded millions of colonists to oppose defense spending. His peace movement has left humanity dangerously unprepared for what satellite intelligence now shows is coming, a massive alien invasion fleet heading directly toward our territory. The broadcast ended with Minji showing the most terrifying evidence of all. Long-range space telescopes had detected over 3,000 alien warships, moving in formation toward human space. The fleet was so large that it would take several minutes just to count all the ships. Intelligence analysts estimated that the invasion would begin within 6 months. As the emergency broadcast concluded, Taeho realized that his entire life's work had been a lie. Everything he had believed about peace and cooperation had been carefully manipulated by enemies who wanted to destroy humanity. His influence had made humans weaker and more vulnerable at the exact moment when they needed to be strongest. The galaxy would never be the same. Taeho sat alone in his private apartment on Lunar Station, staring at the wall where his awards and honors had hung just hours before. His assistant had removed them all after the broadcast, afraid that angry protesters might break in and destroy everything. The apartment felt empty and cold, like a tomb. Outside his windows, Taeho could see thousands of people gathering in the station's main plaza. They carried signs with his picture crossed out in red. Some signs called him a traitor. Others demanded his immediate arrest. The crowd was growing larger every hour, and station security was struggling to keep them away from his building. How could I have been so stupid? Taeho whispered to himself. He had spent the last 6 hours reviewing every meeting, every conversation, every decision he had made over the past 5 years. The evidence was clear and undeniable. People he had trusted, organizations he had worked with, even some of his closest advisors, they had all been connected to the hegemony. His personal communication device buzzed constantly with incoming messages. Most were from reporters wanting interviews. Some were from government investigators demanding answers. A few were from old friends asking if the accusations were true. Taeho could not bring himself to answer any of them. The worst part was not the public humiliation or the angry crowds. The worst part was understanding what his actions had cost humanity. Every speech he had given against military expansion, every argument he had made for peaceful cooperation, every time he had convinced people to trust alien intentions, all of it had made humans weaker and more vulnerable. Taeho remembered a government meeting from 2 years ago where he had personally argued against building new defense stations on the outer colonies. His passionate speech had convinced the Korean Space Federation to cancel the project and spend the money on schools and hospitals instead. Now he realized that those defense stations might have been humanity's only hope of stopping the coming invasion. I helped them kill my own people, he said out loud, his voice breaking with emotion. The rage that filled him was unlike anything he had ever felt before. It was not just anger at being deceived. It was the fury of discovering that he had been turned into a weapon against his own species. His communication device buzzed again. This time, it was a message from his younger sister, Yoo-jin, who lived on a farming colony near the edge of human space. Brother, the message said, please tell me this is not true. Please tell me you did not help aliens plan to hurt us. Taeho could not reply. How could he explain to his sister that he had unknowingly helped put her life in danger? How could he tell her that the peace movement she had supported might have doomed her entire colony? Meanwhile, 300 million kilometers away on Mars' central station, Minji was not sleeping either. Her command center was filled with technicians and analysts working around the clock to track alien fleet movements. The screens around the room showed a terrifying picture of the galaxy. The main hegemony battle fleet has reached the Kepler system, reported her intelligence chief, Captain Kim Sung-ho. Our long-range sensors count over 4,000 warships. They are moving in perfect formation toward the Centauri colonies. Minji studied the tactical displays with growing concern. The alien fleet was massive, well-organized, and clearly prepared for a major war. Humanity's scattered military forces would be no match for such overwhelming numbers. "What about the other alien civilizations?" Minji asked. "Are any of them willing to help us?" Captain Kim shook his head. "Our diplomatic teams have contacted 17 different species. Most refuse to get involved. 3 species have already signed non-aggression pacts with the hegemony. It appears we are completely alone." The communication networks that Minji controlled were now humanity's most important asset. Her satellites and relay stations connected every human colony, allowing for instant communication across thousands of light years. Without this network, it would be impossible to coordinate any kind of defense. "Ma'am," another technician called. "Out. We are receiving reports of panic from the outer colonies. People are trying to evacuate, but there are not enough transport ships. Some colonies are requesting permission to surrender to the hegemony before the fighting begins." Minji felt a cold fear in her stomach. If the outer colonies surrendered without fighting, the hegemony would have easy access to resources and strategic positions. The alien invasion would become unstoppable. Back on Lunar Station, the crowd outside Taiho's building had grown to over 50,000 people. Station security had called for backup from Earth, but the protesters were not violent. They were just angry and afraid. Many of them had family members living on the outer colonies that would face the alien invasion first. "Traitor! Traitor! Traitor!" the crowd chanted. Their voices echoed through the station's corridors, reaching Taiho even through his apartments. Soundproof walls. Taiho stood up and looked out at the sea of angry faces. These people were right to hate him. He had betrayed them all, even if he had not meant to do it. His influence had shaped government policy for years, convincing leaders to focus on peace instead of defense. Now humanity would pay the price for his mistakes. But as Taiho watched the protesters, something began to change inside him. The shame and guilt were still there, but they were being joined by something else: determination. He had been used as a weapon against humanity, but that did not mean he had to stay a weapon. Maybe there was still time to fix what he had broken. The emergency sirens began wailing across Frontier Station at Aero 347 hours, jolting colonists from their sleep. Commander Park Ji-woo rushed to the observation deck and saw something that made his blood run cold. Against the backdrop of distant stars, hundreds of alien warships were approaching in perfect formation. The hegemony invasion had begun. All defense stations prepare for battle, Ji-woo ordered through his communication system. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Frontier Station was humanity's furthest outpost, home to 12,000 miners and their families. The station's defenses consisted of 20 laser cannons and a small squadron of patrol ships. Against the massive alien fleet approaching them, these weapons seemed as useless as throwing stones at a mountain. On Lunar Station, Taiho watched the live battle footage streaming through Minji's communication network. The alien ships were sleek and deadly, moving with a coordination that human forces had never achieved. Their weapons fired beams of pure energy that cut through human defenses like paper. Frontier Station is requesting immediate backup, the news reporter announced. But the nearest military base is 6 hours away. The colonists are on their own. Taiho felt sick watching the battle unfold. These were innocent people, miners, engineers, teachers, children, facing destruction because of his mistakes. If he had not spent years convincing the government to reduce military spending, Frontier Station might have had proper defenses. His communication device buzzed with an incoming call from Minji. For a moment he considered ignoring it. What could they possibly say to each other after everything that had happened? But curiosity made him answer. "Taiho, Minji's voice was urgent, but not angry. "I need your help." "My help?" Taeho laughed, bitterly. "I think I have helped enough already. 12 billion people hate me right now, and they have every right to." "Listen to me," Minji said firmly. "Frontier Station is going to fall within the hour. After that, the hegemony will attack New Kepler Colony, then the mining worlds, then the agricultural stations. They will keep advancing until they reach Earth itself." On his screens, Taeho could see the alien ships surrounding Frontier Station like wolves circling prey. The human defenders were fighting bravely, but they were hopelessly outnumbered. "I can coordinate our defenses through my communication network," Minji continued. "I can connect every military base, every colony, every ship in human space. But coordination is not enough. Our forces are scattered and demoralized. They need a leadership. They need someone to inspire them to fight." "And you think that someone is me?" Taeho asked. "The man who betrayed his own species?" "You are the only person in human space who can reach billions of people with a single broadcast," Minji replied. "Even now, even after everything that has happened, people will listen to you. Some will hate you, but they will listen." Taeho watched as one of Frontier Station's defense platforms exploded in a ball of fire. The alien weapons were incredibly powerful, destroying human technology with ease. What would I say to them? How do I convince people to fight when I spent years telling them not to? "You tell them the truth," Minji said simply. "You tell them that you were wrong, that you were deceived, and that now you are asking them to save humanity." The battle at Frontier Station was reaching its climax. The alien ships had broken through the outer defenses and were now attacking the station itself. Families were evacuating to emergency shelters, but everyone knew the shelters would not protect them from the alien weapons. "Commander Jiwoo, to all human forces," came the desperate voice over the communication network. "We cannot hold them much longer. They are too strong. We need help now." But help was not coming. The other human colonies were too far away, and their own defenses were too weak to face the alien fleet. Frontier Station was going to fall, and its 12,000 inhabitants were going to die. Taeho closed his eyes and thought about his sister, Jin, on her farming colony. She was probably watching the same battle footage, knowing that her world might be next. He thought about all the children on human colonies who were counting on adults to protect them. He thought about the future of his species. "If I do this broadcast," Taeho said to Minji, "it might not work. People might not listen to me anymore." "Then humanity will die with dignity instead of with confusion," Minji replied. "But if you do nothing, we will definitely lose. The hegemony planned this perfectly. They weakened us from within, and now they are destroying us from without." On the screens, Frontier Station's final defense platform exploded. The alien ships were now firing directly at the civilian areas of the station. Commander Jiwoo's voice came through the communication system one last time. "This is Frontier Station. We are being overrun. Tell Earth. Tell them we tried." The transmission cut to static. Frontier Station had fallen. 12,000 human lives had been lost in less than 2 hours. The alien invasion was succeeding exactly as the hegemony had planned. Taeho opened his eyes and looked at his reflection in the darkened window. The man staring back at him was not the confident broadcaster who had once influenced government policy. This was a man who had failed his species when they needed him most. But maybe it was not too late to change that. "Set up the broadcast," Taeho told Minji. "Connect me to every human colony, every ship, every military base. It is time to tell my people the truth." The broadcast began at exactly 1200 hours Galaxy Standard Time, reaching every human settlement simultaneously. Taeho sat in his studio on Lunar Station, but this time he was not alone. Minji appeared on a split screen beside him, her communication networks linking them to 47 human worlds. "My fellow humans," Taeho began, his voice heavy with emotion. "I stand before you today as a man who has failed you all. For 5 years I was deceived by our enemies. I helped weaken our defenses when we should have been getting stronger. Frontier Station fell because of my mistakes, and 12,000 innocent people died. Across human space, billions of people stopped what they were doing to watch. Many were angry at Taeho, but they listened because they needed to understand what was happening to their civilization. But I am not asking for your forgiveness, Taeho continued. I am asking for your help. The hegemony thought they could use me to destroy us from within. They thought we would collapse when faced with superior force. They were wrong. We are human. We are Korean. We do not surrender. Minji took over the broadcast, her voice calm and determined. The hegemony fleet consists of over 4,000 warships. They have superior technology and overwhelming numbers, but they have made one critical mistake. They do not understand human nature. Behind Minji, tactical displays showed the current positions of human and alien forces. The hegemony fleet had divided into 3 groups, attacking different sectors of human space simultaneously. Their strategy was working perfectly, with human colonies falling one after another. We have advantages the aliens cannot match, Minji explained. Our communication network can coordinate attacks across thousands of light years instantly. Our people are willing to sacrifice everything for their families and their future. And we have something the hegemony has never faced, the determination of a united humanity. Taeho leaned forward, looking directly into the camera. I am calling for total mobilization. Every ship, every weapon, every person who can fight. We will not hide. We will not run. We will show these aliens what happens when they threaten human children. The response was immediate and overwhelming. On colony worlds, civilian transport ships were converted into warships within hours. Mining equipment was modified into weapons. Scientists worked around the clock to develop new technologies. Even children helped by manufacturing ammunition and supplies. The Korean Space Federation took the lead in organizing the response. President Yoon Sung-min declared martial law and placed all human forces under unified command. Korean military doctrine emphasized speed, coordination, and willingness to sacrifice for the greater good. These principles became the foundation of humanity's defense strategy. Minji's communication network became the nervous system of the human war effort. Her satellites and relay stations allowed instant coordination between forces separated by vast distances. When the hegemony attacked the mining worlds, human reinforcements from 6 different colonies arrived within hours, having been alerted and coordinated through Minji's network. Taeho used his broadcasting skills to maintain morale and unity. His daily war reports reached every human settlement, keeping people informed and motivated. The comedian who had once preached peace now called for total war with the same passion and eloquence that had once influenced millions. They thought they could break us by turning us against each other, Taeho announced during one broadcast. But they only made us stronger. Every fallen colony, every lost battle, every sacrifice our people make, it all feeds the fire of our determination. The turning point came when human forces achieved their first major victory at the Battle of New Kepler. Using Minji's coordination, network ships from 12 different colonies attacked the hegemony fleet simultaneously from multiple directions. The aliens, accustomed to fighting scattered and uncoordinated enemies, were caught completely off guard. The hegemony cannot adapt to our tactics, reported Admiral Lee Hyun-woo, the Korean commander leading the counterattack. They fight like a single massive organism. We fight like a swarm of intelligent individuals working together. As human victories mounted, the hegemony fleet began retreating toward Earth, seeking to end the war with a decisive strike at humanity's home world. But this played directly into human hands. Minji and Taeho had spent weeks preparing for exactly this scenario. The final battle took place in Earth's orbit, where the hegemony's remaining 3,000 ships faced a human fleet of nearly 5,000 vessels. The human ships were smaller and individually weaker, but they fought with perfect coordination. All ships, this is Admiral Lee, came the command through Minji's network. Execute attack pattern Unity 7, for humanity, for our future, for our children. The battle lasted 18 hours. Human ships darted between the larger alien vessels, like angry bees, striking with precision and retreating before the hegemony could respond effectively. Ships from 47 different worlds fought as if they were parts of a single mind. When the last hegemony warship exploded in the darkness of space, the entire galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Then from every human world came the sound of celebration. They had not just survived, they had won. Taiho and Minji watched the victory celebration from Lunar Station, exhausted but relieved. The man who had been deceived into betraying humanity had helped save it. The woman who had exposed the betrayal had provided the tools for victory. "We did it," Minji said quietly. "No," Taiho replied, looking at the images of celebrating humans across the galaxy. "They did it. We just gave them the chance to show what humans can do when we stand together." The Korean leadership of humanity's victory had proven something important, that in the darkest hour, human determination and unity could overcome any enemy,